And then I need it. Oh, I need it. There it is. I'm a millisecond too fast for myself. And then, oh, I did it again. Hang on. Hey, welcome to the Everyday Sniper. Sorry, guys, I spaced myself out doing something silly here. And let me get it going. All right, now I'm all there. Maybe. I don't know. But I kind of messed that all up. All right. Boom.
Oh, you
We're
look good
live.
though.
Yeah, no, we're live. I started the music for like the podcasty people because it's easy just to hit the record. And hang on, I got somebody saying hi. And the timing was off because I dropped the link into the title bar instead of the link bar. And so I was like, oh, and it was the wrong spot. So the music beat me where I would have been perfectly on time had I dropped the link into the right place. But I messed it up and I put it in the wrong place for a second because I was multitasking, which we do very poorly. So what's
Hmm.
going on? Are you out of town? Or are you in town?
Yeah, I'm out of town.
Oh, okay, cool.
There's this
So,
place here called Uranus, and there's
mm-hmm.
signs everywhere saying "Come to
I saw
Uranus,"
those.
or it's right around. Uranus is right here. Or
You,
it's wide open.
you were sending me. It's like if anybody's ever been on the east coast of the U.S. and driven down I-95, like south of the border. I was getting billboard text messages. I'm in Uranus, coming to Uranus,
Yeah,
getting closer to
yeah.
Uranus.
The best. Yeah, yeah. Emily said the one right out here is the best fudge is in Uranus.
Nice. See, there you go, and all that,
Oh.
but I spent the morning. I spent the morning at the car dealer. I had to drop the Gertrude off to get just a service, and it had a recall. It actually, like, they text me. Are you ready for this? This is the world we're living in today. We'll do a little bit of catch up quick, but this is the world we're living in today. I had 2 text messages in the last, like, 30 days from the dealer that there were
Hmm.
recall campaigns, and I'm gonna put those in air quotes, recall campaigns. And, like, one of them, and I got text messages, like, "Your car needs to be recalled. Hey, we need to see your car, it's recalled." Technically, I think they just wanted me in the dealership because when I got there this morning and I go to drop it off and I'm like, "I don't know what to do because I haven't really driven it." So it doesn't have the 10,000 miles on it. It's only got 7,600 miles on it. And but I got the recall thing, so I brought it in. And the guy starts laughing. Recall number 1 is a page to the manual. Recall number 2, recall number 2 that they text me about. Hey, we need to see your car, recall. Is to put a sticker in the engine compartment, like a plastic
Did
sticker.
they didn't tell you that? They just said, "Oh, you got
No,
to come back for a
no, I
recall."
could show you the text messages that say there's a recall campaign for your car.
Oh, that's
Now,
amazing.
my service guy, his brother now works there, and his brother had 30 days ago said, "Hey, are you still in love with your car? Because we'd like it." And I started laughing. I'm like, "Dude, you ain't getting the car." I go, "You have better luck getting the Macan than you would be getting that." And so then when I made the appointment, sure enough, the brand new Macans come up, and I looked at one. So I was freaking looking at one in the dealer today because and I mean, mine's paid off, so it's like an easy in,
Hmm.
but it's like,
But
do
that's
I
like
want
having a recall on tires, and then you show up and they're like, "But look at our new tires for only
Yes,
a little bit more."
that's exactly what happened. And they have the new building now, and so they have a brand new building because they used to be like the Porsche Audi together, and it was the old building from original and 100 years old. And now they have a brand new fancy building that, oh, it's gorgeous. It's like a everything, and everything's out, and it's all touch screen, and it's got crazy stuff. But yeah, it just cracked me up. But I was in there this morning, and they pulled it in, and then I'm like, well, hey, what are you gonna do? Because it doesn't really need an oil change. And they go, yeah, but it's been sitting, and we have a schedule for that. And so it ended up, because one of the things is air filters, and they have to pull like a bumper off to get at the air filter. So I just told them to leave it overnight. I said, don't even call me today. I'll pick it up tomorrow. And I'm not driving down to Lakewood, you know, for no reason. But how did your match go? We didn't get to talk because I was
I'm
out doing
arts and
stuff.
crafting while you're
Yeah,
talking,
I
but
heard your marker. So I was just doing my little kind of, I'm a human being and I do normal things like everyone else, and brought my car to the car dealer. Um, but yeah,
yeah,
so
well, no, and I'm listening. I'm just kind of doing my
no, I know
normal
you are. I'm
things
not
like
saying that. I'm just
Asperger's.
laughing that I was giving us 5 minutes or 6 minutes of normalcy to act like
Hmm.
we're normal everyday people, and we just don't shoot all day. But I had a great range day
Yeah.
myself, which I'll get into after you talk about your
Well, I saw
weekend.
the footage, and I don't know how much of that footage you've released yet, and how much you haven't released yet. So I don't want to like give away,
Oh
spill
no,
the beans
everything's
from
out
your range
now.
day.
Everything's
But
out. I did it. I finished it today and posted on the hide. So all my footage for up to date that you've seen is out.
see what I made. I made
Swears.
this this page,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let me go here. Wait a minute. It's
Right
delayed
there.
enough where I go left, but it goes right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're right. It's the width, right? We got 100%. Where is that? So I'm just
Yep.
gonna look.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
100% of the width, 75, 50, 25% of the width. But I'll get back to that. Um, see, this is trying to trap people into sticking around. It's like a clickbait. Let me show you what I'm going to talk about with wind on this after this discussion on the hunter match. The hunter match was good. Clovis, New Mexico is in the middle of nowhere, and getting there, you have to drive through the middle of nowhere, which is cool when you want to stop and like take panoramic videos
Mm-hmm.
of just nothing. Um, but you pull in, and we stayed right on the outskirts of town, so I didn't actually go deep into Clovis, but north of town, it said Clovis, New Mexico, but the range was 40 minutes north. There's a ranch owned by a couple that's right up on a bluff, or or a mesa, I guess, because we're in New Mexico, they're mesas.
Mm-hmm.
And this mesa has, like the geology of that area. It's these thick sandstone sheets,
Yep, yep.
and they collapse and fall, and it goes down a few hundred feet. And so the first day we were up on the mesa shooting down, and then the second day we were down underneath the mesa, kind of shooting up the canyons. So it was really cool. Um, there were fingers, the canyon fingers that kind of fed out, and it made for a really fun uh, match venue. I guess this is the third year, but it's the first time that I've been there, and I just enjoyed the whole thing. I mean, it reminded me a little bit of the Blue Steel Ranch, which is only an hour north of there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the red rock, and it's been raining a lot in New Mexico, so all the vegetation is really green.
Yeah, here
So
too.
all this red rock and green plants just made it look really cool. It was hot, and it was a huge match, and everybody was happy. We didn't have to walk far. Generally, all of the stages, um, I would say from stage one to stage 12, we did 24 stages and 12 stages both days. I mean, they couldn't have been 1,000 yards apart. I mean, it was really
Oh,
just moved
nice.
down, but they were
Mm-hmm.
all different. you know, every spot where they chose to shoot was a little bit different, so it didn't get repetitive. Um, yeah, it was just a good match. I
It's
think that
it's nice when
normally I just
people
oh, go ahead.
let the terrain dictate and don't try to
Hmm.
operate outside the terrain. It sounds like the terrain, was the hero and then the match just had to take advantage of it.
Right, right. The They had two props. One of them was for a separate prize from Proof Research, so they had to shoot off of a roof.
Mhm.
But that was for like a theme stage of shooting off a roof
Did they have a
roof with a
sloped
tripod.
roof qualified patch when you shot it?
It was a skateboard deck with like a snake skin printed on it.
They didn't give everybody a patch who shot the side match to say sloped roof qualified. That would have been epic to take advantage of that.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a side match. It was just a stage on
Yeah,
the
yeah, but I mean, because it
thing
had the
sponsored by
proof
Proof.
prize to it, proof should have took advantage and said, "Here's a sloped roof patch." Proof research.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was cool. I mean, there was I mean, shooting off a rooftop is shooting off a rooftop. So, it was a reverse rooftop, good stage, but there was enough vegetation that actually you had to think about where you were going to shoot because of kind of vegetative loopholes, if you want to call
Mhm.
it that,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Um, that stage you moved over, and a lot of them you could probably shoot prone from one of them, but if you moved, you would have had there was a lot of four position stages, and some of those you had to elevate. So then you had to decide, do you go from an elevated position through them all, or do you prone for the ones you can and elevated
Mhm.
for the other ones? And some of the targets were small enough where if you couldn't shoot well from a tripod, it would have been hard to hit, like
Yeah, yeah.
wobbly. Um, but the distances weren't incredibly far. There was maybe four 800 something yard um, stages, and then everything else was inside of 700. There weren't that many close ones, so it was pretty well done. And but I did like the fact that every time you moved over, because of the way that the mesa eroded, it made for a unique setup. Like, okay, you can shoot prone here, but these ones, the rocks are separate, and there's no way to
Mhm.
get prone, so you're gonna have to get down in there and either, try to get a tripod working or use a bag or put something somewhere. And so you were fiddling with your positions. One of them, we kind of had to work together to set up tripod front and rear, and I was backing up to move stuff, and they had these big cactus, and I just backed right up into the
Ah, and they
cactus.
barb into you and
And then
getting them out.
Oh yeah, but then I was kind of sandwiched in there, and then he was going to shoot, so I just kind of stayed there and held it, and I kept moving a little bit, and it kept digging in, and then afterwards I had to take my clothes off, and Dorgan had to pull
Yeah.
about 100 cactus out of my butt, my back, and
That's
so that
funny.
was
Yeah,
pretty
that
fun.
gotta hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I still have little red dots where there's little bits left, but there was a lot of them, um, and no, it was good. You know what? Sounds like it would be always a really good thing, but sometimes it isn't. It was hot, and Justin um, is a very experienced shooter, and he's done a lot of styles, and he's very thoughtful. And they had coolers on every stage that were always full of ice and water, so nobody was without water.
Nice.
And I think everybody drank a water bottle every single stage or more because it was just smoking hot, but nobody was ever out of it. So it was nice to see just constant resupply. And they had four-wheelers driving up and down, bringing ice and water back to every cooler the whole time. They had these runners that were nonstop going, and then he had three medics.
Wandering.
And I think maybe the medics were doing that, but they were making sure everybody was doing
Yeah,
well in the
yeah.
heat. So that was good. So, you know, shooting matches have tons of things, and I'm actually doing I have I have two articles ready to post, but they're not posted. I have another one that I started the other day, and it's called like if it can go wrong, it will.
Mhm.
So, and it's basically just my personal experiences of all the things that have gone wrong with stuff, right? Not just in my head. Um, I we shoot suppressors a lot, and but I also don't shoot suppressors sometimes. It's kind of hit or miss, but the SR mounts for Thunder Beast are solid. They're reliable. They don't come loose. They lock it, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you've got a break, and then there's it screws on, and then there's that final kind of clunk ridge, and then the SR mount has that thing that comes down and
Right,
locks it in.
the lock over the top.
Yeah. So I have a few of the RR line brakes or suppressors. And so, people want to look at it, knock yourself out, like talk about it, show them how cool they are. Um, but there was a couple long delays, and people were always asking about it and kind of looking at it. And I didn't think much about it, but after a long delay, it was probably almost 2 hours. We were tired and it'd been a long day, and all of a sudden my data was just messed up. And Dorgan's like, "What's wrong with your data? Like you're having elevation issues?" And I'm like, "Man, I don't know. Maybe it's the heat, maybe,
Right.
so I'm thinking it's all this other stuff
Yeah, you're
because
thinking right, something normal.
but my windage, like, it was vertical. But it was huge vertical, like 5/10
Mhm.
variation. It would shoot up, I would correct for it, and then it would be just
Yeah,
all
yeah, the
over the place.
opposite. Right, it was
But my windage
ping-ponging.
was good. I'd be like, yeah, I'm like, all right, hold 1.5 distance, and he would get 8. And I'm like, well, the wind cut was good. He's like, yeah, but we're bleeding points. So I was, at the end of the day, I was frustrated. I was like, all right, well, Riley and August are there. Let's go do kid stuff. I just threw the rifle in the car, left it there till the next day, came back to the match, and we started. Same thing, vertical issues, vertical issues. And I was so frustrated. And I looked down at my brake, and even though it's perfectly lined up, I knew that it had just a slight
Mhm.
cant to the left. And I was like, I'm not going to fix it because it's great and it doesn't do
Right,
anything
right,
wrong. But
right.
I
Because you think
noticed
it's the slip
I
ring.
noticed that it was I noticed that it was perfect. And I was like, that's weird. So I grabbed the brake part and it wasn't loose. So I just grabbed the suppressor, not even the lock. And I just kind of and it went thunk. And I was like, what the hell? And I went to the collar was
Right,
tight.
right.
So then it clunked in and the collar was tight. So I loosened it and then it ratcheted on. And I thought, gosh, that's really weird. And my only explanation is that, people were
Right,
messing with
showing
it
it
to see how
off
it worked. And
and
and somehow it like clicked over and then they just, tightened the collar, not realizing that it had that final thunk. But I don't think it was malicious. And I can't prove that that's
right,
actually what
right.
happened,
And
but they don't come undone.
Andrew's in the comments asking, "Do you prefer the brake or no brake on the suppressor?"
Oh, I love the brake, works really well.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
put with the Abalon. I have the Thunder Beast as well, the RR. Mine's a Magnus RR, I believe. And I like that as well. And it seems the more you hit against it, the better it is. And that's sort of the idea behind their 50 cal. When you look at that, sub 20-inch 50 cal, it has that giant Thunder Beast on it. It's got the brake. And so, whatever when you kind of sample people, the more caliber you put into it, the better the brakes work.
Oh, for sure. And we were talking about a
Mhm.
video that we'll do pretty soon of putting it in different weight rifles and putting on the normal uh,
Yeah, and
suppressor.
taking a look at it
Because
and
the ones that we have with the brake, we also have the ones without it. So I have a Dominus and I have, or the Magnus and then the Magnus RR, and I have the
and
338
right.
and the 338 RR, and we can just put a camera next to it with a ruler and see how much they move to show the difference between recoil
Right,
impulse
the
and how much it
recoil
moves the
impulse.
rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But
that's for
nevertheless, as soon as I clicked that on, I thought, oh shit.
no way,
And
right?
then we had 9 more stages. And in 9 stages, I dropped 4 shots. So it was like, yep, that was it.
Damn.
We
And
started cleaning stuff and then we finished cleaning stuff. But right in there, it was just like I couldn't get a hold of the vertical, but I couldn't figure it out. I wish I would have figured it out
and
sooner. But
it's not the same, but it's similar in the whole effect. I got that little camera I've been running around and using this Canon that is that like flip it open and it's supposed to be their new creator thing and cut to the chase camera. It like on the auto white balance, it'll start off like right now I have a dark, edgy kind of contrasty look where the blacks are really black and the shadows are really deep. Well, the camera starts out like that and then progressively gets so bright, like it even defeats when I put my color on it. So I was editing this video we'll talk about later, but it's just these little and I in like Laura had said to me too. She's like, "Hey, how's it going out there?" I go, "This little tiny annoying thing bugs me. Everything else is fine. Now I got what it's going to end up being is I'm going to have to set the white balance and freeze it and I can't use the auto because the auto wants it's almost like as it reads my beard, it gets brighter, which is crazy. So,
oh,
yeah, that it's
but that makes sense
yeah,
because
it
right,
does.
I was taking pictures of the sunset. And right, if you click the clouds above, whoop,
Mhm.
everything's changed. And if you move your beard, it's gonna
Yes.
change.
Exactly. And I think that's what's happening. It's reading my beard like a card and it's slowly getting brighter as I film. And of course, I'm already on the front of the camera and can't see any of that. But now what I'm going to have to do is set a board, set my white balance, and then go. But so what other than that's now with you back to NRL Hunter, whoop, squirrel. But talk like it becomes a lesson learned, right? Now you have another checklist, another item to add to that checklist to say, I got to look at my suppressor. Where in the past
Right.
you may not have considered even checking your Thunder Beast.
I mean, at first you don't know any of that stuff. So when something goes wrong, you write it down. Forgot to do this. All right, that goes in your checklist. Forgot to do this. So you start making the list, but then you get familiar with it and you start taking things off. But when things come back on, um, I had just never with a direct thread suppressor, I'm used to always grabbing it and checking because those can
Mm-hmm.
pop free. Um, with the Thunder Beasts that go like the Ultra Sevens, they can also kind of pop free a little bit. But with the SR mounts, man, I've never seen an SR mount pop out of that lock and collar before.
Right.
But hell yeah, I'm gonna check it. Fuck yeah,
Mm-hmm.
before you better believe, like, it starts to turn into a kind of an obsessive compulsive thing until it starts to go away because
Yeah.
until 100, 200, 300 times where it's not coming loose, I'm just gonna check that. But I also think that's kind of that was the motivation for this article because if you take anything for granted, like it's gonna come back and get you. So you got to be able to first trust it and then check it and then back off. But know when you see certain things to diagnose as quickly as possible. What was interesting is that the collar was locked and it was popped back on, but it didn't have any play left or right. It was just vertical.
Yeah. With it wasn't
And
on the threads. It was almost locked to the brake.
yeah, yeah, it was strange. But nevertheless, it was an awesome match, and I'll be psyched to go back next year. Um, when we won in Texas, I wasn't a member of the NRL. And so driving down, I signed up because we wanted to qualify for the finale. And so right now it's kind of up in the air as to whether we'll actually be able to go, even
Oh,
though we
because
like kind of checked all
you're
the
gonna get
boxes, they weren't in the right sequence, right?
right. I was just gonna say
So
you got a technicality on the rules, huh?
yeah, well, we're not going to ask for an exception, but there's also the chance that we have enough points to qualify anyway, and
Right, right.
that would be cool.
I mean,
But it
you
would be
guys
fun to
ended.
go because then you've got all the best of the best in that together, and that's fun. I
Mhm.
heard it was in Phoenix though, and like Phoenix in
Where is it gonna
whenever
be, like, gun site?
before the fall.
Are they doing gun sites? Because
Uh,
gun sites, like, PRS-y place is really nice. I wonder if they do hunter there.
I, I know that they've done matches there, but I heard it was in Phoenix. But anyway, I haven't looked because I
Oh,
haven't found
Phoenix,
out
Ben
whether we
Avery
actually
then.
qualify.
Unless there's it's either Cowtown or Ben Avery, right? Is Phoenix? Cowtown or Ben Avery.
Could you imagine though? Like Phoenix is like might as well be
Right.
the
Yeah.
sun in the middle of the summer, like
Mhm.
130 degrees.
But yeah, you guys ended up
Better have
podiuming, so having
not
being on the
hot
podium,
loads.
so that should be good for you to
Yep,
at least try to get into the finale that way. And you don't have any more opportunities, right, to get into the finale or no?
it was the last one. Yeah. So yeah, we did get third place, and that was cool. And the trophies are skateboard decks, so that's pretty awesome.
Mhm.
It's a really
Mhm.
cool idea. And I just keep my fingers crossed that we have enough points. I think that you know not being polished as a team and myself being a little bit rusty, I think going to the finale, it's kind at this point, it's kind of a no-brainer. Like, we're ready. So, I'm hoping that that's the last kind of BS kind of knucklehead thing that gets the best of me. But otherwise, the ammo was great, the rifle was great, zero data, blah, everything. Finding targets was great. I took a lot of videos. You had said, hey, talk to people and just interact and collect little clips here and there, and I got tons of that. And people filmed us on our stages, so I can show,
Mhm.
things done well, things not done well. Um,
And that's the thing is like I
and
was saying is just put those videos up on the high TV because you can upload them from your phone. Asking if we messed around with any other light 6.5s. I said just the Hornady, the 100 grain. Um, so questions are coming in and
123
shit.
Lapua.
Yeah, Lapua 123s. I like those a lot. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, what were we saying right before that kicked in? That
I I don't know. I think that as far as I'm concerned, I think as far as Oregon concerned, we if we go to the finale, we'll be competitive for sure because we're everything's working.
right. Now you guys are well
Yeah,
and your schedule's chilling out a little bit better and you're not being pulled in six directions as much. You're only being pulled in four. So that's a
right.
little bit better. And so that makes life easier. But I was gonna say let's roll into like Win Wednesday because we got a lot going on the win front. You started off by saying you're feeding Dorgan your percent of the distance for him,
Yeah,
and
and he loves it. He
and
doesn't think as fluidly at it, but I'm giving him calls and he's hit. I mean, he's getting eights and he's getting,
right,
or
right,
sometimes sevens, but we're talking about very small shifts in wind that I think would get anybody. But he pretty much shot sevens and eights, getting that stuff, and
and
he gets it when I tell him. But I'm thinking in craft wind, translating it to whatever, and it is working. And people were coming up at the match that have taken the class online
right,
and
and
they said,
and
wow, we got the best score we've ever got because of that.
that's pretty awesome. And this is like this week, 4th of July is the 1 year anniversary of the High TV. Right there. And so they're doing contests and giveaway, but Chris's craft wind lesson is up for sale on the Hide. They're putting out all kinds of content and media. Like I said, it's like telling them just throw the videos up. We have other content creators on there. They're giving away all kinds of stuff every other day. They're giving stuff away, shirts and swag. But you could get the lessons, you could see the articles, you could watch the videos. I mean, between Chris and I, we have a lot of videos that we did together, and you could find all of them on the Hide. Oh, look at that! You even have like a whole thing, man. But let's like
Mm.
just talking the
I
craft
made
wind.
this
Yes, I had to
for the
use that
craft
the
winner,
other
but
day.
can
Did
you
you see?
see
Yes,
can you
I
see
could
that as a
see it
clock? Yeah.
a little bit. But did you see that I sent that to the app people?
No.
Oh, because I remember I had one of those drawn from before. I sent
Yeah.
them that. But yeah, go ahead. You can
Awesome.
go into your windy stuff, and we'll talk in a sec with it.
Okay. So what I was scribbling when Frank was talking, and I was listening, but um, you could argue that maybe I wasn't, but I was kind of listening. I was listening my way, right? Chris
Yeah, I
way.
get it. I get it. Well,
Get
that's your
it?
name.
Chris way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we got 12 o'clock, 12:31, 1:32, 2:33. Those of you that follow us understand that this is a familiar type of drawing. And so what I want to point out here again is that um, if we take the width of this circle, the radius, and we call that length 100%, then we can call 75% of the length, 50% of the length, 25% of the length. That's where the percentage comes from trigonometry. So you don't have to have a trigonometry class to understand why we use the cosine. The cosine takes the relationship of an angle and a length and gives us something else. So if we follow this angle here with cosine tells us that it's 25%. But if you just draw a clock and then whatever the length is, you divide it into 25, 50, 75, 100. Then if the wind is coming in from 1 o'clock and you draw a vertical line, if there's like a plumb line that you could hang from one, it's going to come down to 50%. It looks off of 50% because of the angle there, but it
Yeah, we
is at
get it.
50%. And so if you take that clock and instead of having the angle of the arms, you just hang a plumb line down, the portion that it's covering on this 100% is the value that you would get multiplying it with the cosine. And so how that's significant is that wind is coming in at an angle to most of the flight paths. So you've got a bullet flying on a trajectory, and if the wind's coming in on an angle, that angle is going to reduce the amount that that bullet yaws the tail into it and gets moved out of the flight
The
path,
amount of
right?
deflection.
And so I'm trying not to. I mean, normally I would just say, "Oh, the wind pushes it," but we know that the wind doesn't really push the bullet. The bullet's spinning, and it yaws into the wind, and then the tail of it's pushing in and down or up, depending on whether it's right or left, but creates drag behind it, and it kind of drags it off course downwind because of the way it's spinning. But nevertheless, I don't think it hurts anything to say the wind's blowing it,
Mm-mm.
even though
Just
somebody
say it's
that
deflecting it. Deflecting's a good word. It doesn't hurt anyone's feelings.
the wind's deflecting the wind, and the amount of movement is directly proportional to the percent of the cosine. So that's why we can use the cosine indicator. But here's this cool thing, and you're gonna have to stop me if this is too much being revealed on live TV. But we had this idea for a wind flag because if you have a wind, wait, where's this? Go back. If you have like a windsock, I'm going to pull this off here for a second. Let's say you have a target, or you have a windsock, or you have a piece of metal downrange, perpendicular to the shooter, and this is facing you. It doesn't have to have percentages, but it would be pretty cool. And it had a portion on top of it that was that was actually the wind flag part. So we got a stationary part and a mobile part. This is facing the shooter. If the wind is blowing here like this, let me find the thing. All of a sudden, you know that the the effective wind is 75%, of the full value wind. So if you hold up your Kestrel and go, it's 12 miles an hour, then you say it's effective 9 miles an hour because you can see here that this is lining up with 75% of the width of the target. And if it swings to
Mhm.
here, it's 50% of the effective wind. And if it swings to here, it's 25% of the effective wind. And so if you've got something that faces into the wind, the only thing that you need as a reference is a thing that's the same width, perpendicular to the shooter, so that you can say, oh, look at that. It is 50% of the max wind speed. So instead of a wind flag showing you direction, what you want is a reference so that you know what the angle is, and that's what this is doing because it you could say, okay, yeah, it looks like it's covering up about half the target width or half the reference width. Okay, so it's 50%. If the wind was 20 miles an hour, you're going to hold for 10.
Yeah. Yeah, knock
If all
knock
you
that
have is
down
a
because it
windsock
messes the,
going this,
it messes your video up. Drop your papers now.
oh,
But,
so all you
yeah,
need is a fixed
but
length of anything
all you gotta
and then
do is,
something that swivels on it.
and I was just gonna cut to the shortcut so you don't tell too, but anyway, we think of a cosine as the circle because we think the clock system in the circle. But what Chris is explaining, we can translate that to a linear point that's almost like looking at a target. If a target was facing you and it has a linear width to it, there's a way that you can actually, using just a, a wind meter flag or however you want to look at it, and it could tell you what the wind is
Right.
doing from downrange.
Right. And all I was doing is saying, this is a clock, but instead
Right.
of reading it like a clock, read it head on.
Right.
Right. And we can read it head on.
And that's a simplification. Hang on. That's
So
that's some
yeah, I think it's, you
well,
know,
but that's something working with you kind of translated to me, like, because of, like, with this, when we created that, which was your representation of it,
hmm
I then started looking at it a little bit more linear off of my rifle than circular. I'm still thinking in a circle, but I'm cutting that circle only to where the wind is. So I
hmm
no longer have to look at it like a full circle. Now I go, okay, wind's coming from over there. Now I cut my circle off like that. Oh, the wind's coming from over there. My circle's cut. So I'm thinking of it that way. And it's it's weird to say, but it shortcuts your thinking. And I used to say, like, with positional, because coming out of rifles only, coming out of everything what Jacob does, we always shot slung, unsupported. There was a lot of positional. And the coach's mantra when somebody was shooting a sling and they were rocking with recoil was, where were the sights when the shot broke? Right?
hmm
Because you're rocking with
yeah.
recoil and you're coming back. Well, then I'm not doing that anymore. I'm strictly supported. So I changed that to, where are the sights when the shot breaks? And all it is changing the word are. Because were's giving
hmm
you permission to not look. Where are the sights tells somebody I should be looking. And it's sort of that simplistic of a change that I think you've kind of captured in the wind. That it's changing the way we've always thought about it, where, like, it was just, I just saw it 2 days ago. Not even 2 days ago, maybe like last Friday. You want to learn the wind? Get a case of ammo and shoot in the wind. Well, okay, but if you don't have a frame of reference or you have the worm formula, what good is that going to do? It's going to be the cherry picked group at the end of a 100-yard session where all you did was shot groups. You have a good one, you have a bad one, you have a good one, you have a bad one. And it tells you nothing. But if you have a process to follow, and then you go out there and learn the process. I'm going to do this. And the process has to include the change in direction. So you
For sure.
go, I'm shooting here and my wind calls point 0.5. I don't want to, point 0.5, point 0.5, point 0.5, point 0.5, point 0.5. I'm not going to learn anything. But if I could shoot here and it's point 0.5 and then I go here, what's that? Oh, wait a minute. That's a 1 mil. Okay, if I go over here now, what's that? Okay, that's a point 0.8. In all these little nudges of the clock system that way. But if you think about it, we're doing it linear. We're
Yeah.
changing the
Well, but
angle.
we also think X, Y, and we have a
Yeah.
reticle. So it makes sense to take that but that's like the next step, right? Because you got so comfortable with it. Now you can make it a laser.
And so this is and the next thing we did. So here's where this is going. We started out, and I got one right here. We started out kind of the journey with the
You sell
gravity.
those stickers, right, on the hide?
Yeah, they're on the hide.
Because
You
like
can
they're
go on the
amazing.
hide in the
Yeah.
swag section. So we start out. We got gravity ballistic worksheet, right? So you do the gravity ballistic worksheet in the class. I darkened myself up. Now I gotta. Hi, I'm back. Um, see the white balance. Just what I was talking about. So we have a gravity ballistic worksheet, and we have 10 years plus of gravity ballistics, beyond 10. We know it works. It's the ballistics in the vertical, and we look at that. Well, Kraft wind is that same thing in the horizontal. And so we put those two together with the gravity ballistic app. So you go in your phone here, and I have my gravity ballistic app, right? The cool thing with the gravity ballistic app, it's unlimited tracks, as many as you want, works offline, you don't need internet, and you can email it to yourself and do all these other things. And it doesn't use input. Um,
Right. Right. And
and
it doesn't
so
show you how to do the craft win, but you put in the
yes.
variables and it
Well,
does
and
it
this
for
is what
you.
I'm getting to. So
Yeah.
gravity ballistics uses its own system. We have the X factor. Basically, between the 100 yards, we doped gravity, right? Well, craft wind is not taking the worm formula from the Marine Corps or any other shooting thing. And then we're not in this app, we're not doing a win formula. We're using Chris's win, we're using the gun number, and we're just working with the pure math. So this is the tried and true gun number. Here you go. The wild card for that is make sure you know the speed, right? And then know the angle. Where people fall down is the angle in speed sort of correlation. This will do that math for you, but it's using Chris's math.
Yeah. And if you take the class, you learn how to use it even more, but the app makes it very easy because you plug it in, it gives you drop, gives you wind, you go, and it's good. People are, I mean, shit. Can you show the video from the 500, 600 when you plugged it
No,
into the
because
app
you
to
know
test
what?
it?
I'm really bent. YouTube already they changed the rules again. And I did that Detroit Gunworks video. I had like almost 3,000 views and they took it offline. I don't want to show the video because clearly their AI doesn't know. What I can do is I could show this. I could show the image of the plate. I
I'm
have
going to
the
do
plate.
this
No, I have it.
at the, oh, great.
So I could show you guys that you could see I have an X and Y on there that I drew on the 500. And this is with the 6 arc we were just going to talk. So what I was doing when I did gravity ballistics the first time, I used the 108 match and I doped it with gravity ballistics doing the 6 arc. And I end up 8.5 mils to 1,000 yards. It shoots very well. The 108 bullet works no problem. And I'm around 2775 with the 108. Now I'm switching over with this to the 103. And the 103 is supposed to be 28, but for me, it's only going 2750, almost right on the nose. which 2750 can be a problem, Boone, at farther distances, either moving a plate or seeing a splash or a miss or something like that. So that speed is a little down. The 108 should be fine because it was like 2775. Now the 80 grain is 3000. The 80 grain goes like crazy, like shooting a 100 grainer out of 6.5 Creedmoor. Now I went and I used we have Chris's stuff in the app, and it has a set win. Up, my gun number's missing from this profile. Hang on a second. I think I have a
And
gun
then
number.
show them the
Yep.
600. Like you just went bang, bang. But that's exactly the results we saw from the people that came to the wind
Yeah.
clinic, which is another thing, come
There's the
the 12th
6.
and the 26th.
And the funny thing is, I took a follow up shot with this, and it's in the video I just posted today. It stamps right on top of this hit. They're on. It looks like one hole at 600 yards with the 6 arc. I'm doing that with the 103. I like the 103. I wish it was 50 feet faster. I would love the 103, but the recoil is right and the accuracy is phenomenal. I ran the Garmin like for I don't know how many shots throughout. Probably I ran the Garmin for half a box of ammo because that's all I really shot out there doing it. And the temp got up a little bit. And of course, we're sitting on the bench and there. The SD was 11. So 10
That's really
round.
good. That's
Yeah.
really good.
And
And it's getting hotter.
right. And I didn't protect it. I didn't try to do anything. I didn't run it in one shot. I was running it across that moment, start, stop, start, stop. And the SD was 11 out of that 103. I really like
And
that
that's awesome.
103, and I think that would be a nice competitor. I wish, like I said, I wish it was 50 feet faster. I think it would be heavenly. But at 2750, I have to punch it out to some of the farther targets for us to look at. But the gravity ballistics, all we have to do is make sure our math is right, make sure the cosine math is correct. This program is going to operate like no other ballistic program. It's using the X factor for gravity ballistics to give you your elevation. That's pre-truing as you go out. That was what you saw with that 5 and 6. I did it on camera, and in the video, I did it and walked behind the rifle and didn't edit it. I did it uncut because like a new algorithm now is they don't like you to do edits. So I I
Oh,
I spoke, I dialed it, I did the math, I walked behind and I shot it on camera. No messing around, there's no bullshit. That 600 is exactly like it was shot on the film. And so
right, right.
yeah, it's like
Yeah, the other thing that, I mean, you mentioned it, but I'm going to emphasize is that you don't need Wi-Fi connection. You don't need, you know, if it's on your phone, you can put it on airplane mode and it will work. And so even if you lost all your other ballistic stuff, you just take that with no profile in it, and all you need to do is really take 2 shots and you're good. You
yeah,
don't need to, everything
literally.
else, it's that easy. Like you could pick up a random rifle, take 2 shots, and you're functional with it.
Once when we pair this together, this technically embarrasses the ballistic programs out there by if you all you have to do is just shoot a couple, you know what I mean? You do it all in one shot. Do it on the fly. You don't have to shoot, get a number, go back and true. It's truing as you go. It's doing it on the fly and making it better. And so even if you said I'm only going to have 3 rounds for each yard line from 300 to 1000, it's going to work 100%. And no other software can say that out of the gate the way it is because they require truing and their tri dope isn't as good as this is. This, like Chris said, if you shot 600 yards, mine will be closer than theirs.
Yeah. Well, you know, like I went to that hunter with nothing. It would be cool to have a zeroed rifle so you knew the turrets were zeroed. But like we go to Pawnee and I bring a rifle, I'm like, haha, I'm gonna get frank with this, but make sure it's zeroed, like legit. This is
Mhm.
as a and you're like, I'm gonna get Chris. You're like, I'm gonna, whatever, two random rifles with ammo that are zeroed, and then we each get the gravity ballistics app empty, and we take two shots, and then we populate it, and then see if
Yeah,
they
it would
shoot any
work.
different than rifles that have data. We do those first, and then we take our data rifles and shoot and see if there's
Yeah,
any difference whatsoever.
it would
That
work.
would be pretty cool.
Mhm.
That would be cool.
So,
How could we do that where, like, side by side, you had data and then
well,
just from scratch
in
gravity
a
ballistics
way,
and
I have I just got it's not put together or there doesn't have a scope on it. I have the scope there I'm gonna drop on. But there's the 25 Creedmoor down there now. We have no data. We don't know the first thing about it. There's 2 cases of factory ammo. We can zero it, and then from camera, we can do it, and then compare it and
that would be
follow it up.
sick. From
Yeah,
like no shots
no
ever
shots
through
at
it,
all because we have it.
no chronograph,
No
like,
chronograph, no nothing.
all we do is we get it zeroed in as few shots as possible, and
Mhm.
then
Go.
take, roll a die, and if it says five, we shoot at 500 to get the drop, or if it's three or six or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and
Well,
then
I mean, honestly, we could do a shot at 3, we could do a shot at 6 and a shot at 8, or we could do one shot at 6, follow it up with 8, and then come back to 3. But you know what I'm saying? I would almost bet we could do it in a random order that way. I would just say let's take a shot at 6 and then an 8 and then a 3 and then see what it looks like on the water line and go from there.
yeah, and then show the sheet, and then
Mhm.
prove it by having the yard line and say, we're just going to shoot these numbers and show
Yes.
where they deviate, and
Yes.
it won't be by
And
much.
we
So
and the boxes haven't been opened and we can even say, "Look, seal on the ammo's not broken, plastic's right here. The scope hasn't been
yeah,
mounted on it. It's never been shot." And we could do it and put it together and do it no problem. So, hey, I'll let you go. You're out and about, and we're into our thing. So everybody, we got to go. Hey, happy 4th of July. Be safe out there. If you drink, don't drive. If you drive, don't drink. And the Hides anniversary has all kinds of stuff. Chris's craft win lessons are up on the Hide TV. Videos go up every single day in this space. Precision rifle, right? And so thank you all. Really appreciate everybody. And we'll talk to you right after 4th of July, I'm sure, but we'll be out and about doing our thing.
man,
Yeah,
the
cool, man.
numbers keep growing.
They do. The numbers grow every day. I appreciate you. Yeah, we're 175 people up there. So yep. Thanks everybody. We're out of here.